Welcome to today's lesson on mixed numbers and improper fractions. Today you're going to learn how to convert a mixed number into an improper fraction or an improper fraction into a mixed number. Before we can get started, we need to go over what a mixed number is. A mixed number is a whole number, 1 or greater, that is combined with a proper fraction. Now, a proper fraction is just a fraction that has a numerator that's less than the denominator. Now, if you don't remember, the numerator is the top number on a fraction, and the denominator is the bottom number on a fraction. An improper fraction is a little bit different. An improper fraction also has a value greater than 1 whole. However, the numerator is greater than the denominator. So 12/4 is an improper fraction because the numerator is greater than the denominator. We are going to start our lesson today using fraction bars and representing these, writing it as either a mixed number or an improper fraction. Let's start with a mixed number first. This fraction bar is split into fourths. We have 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, 4/4. That means that we have 4/4 or 1 whole. So for my mixed number, I'm going to write down that I have 1 whole. Now I need to write down what fraction of a whole I have. So I have 1 out of 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces. So I'm going to write that amount as 1 out of 4 pieces, or 1/4. So this fraction bar, written as a mixed number, is 1 and 1/4. Now I'm going to write this as an improper fraction. An improper fraction does not have the whole number separate. Instead, an improper fraction counts how many pieces of that whole you have. So what we're going to do first, we are going to look at the denominator. How many parts are there to the whole? Now each whole is split into 4 parts. So I'm going to put 4 as my denominator. Now I'm going to count how many shaded parts I have. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 shaded parts. So that's going to be my numerator, 5/4. I know that this is an improper fraction because the numerator is larger than the denominator. Now what's important to understand is that these fraction bars didn't change. They stayed exactly the same throughout the entire problem. That means that 1 and 1/4 is the same amount as 5/4. They're just written in different ways. Let's try another practice problem together. We're going to use the fraction bars above to find out the value of our number as a mixed number and an improper fraction. Let's start by deciding how many wholes we have. We have 1, 2 wholes. Here we have part of a whole, so we need to count how many parts are in a whole. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There are 8 parts in this whole, so we know that that's going to be our denominator. Now we need to find out how many parts are shaded. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have 5/8 of a whole. Now, as we write this as a mixed number, we're first going to write how many wholes we have, which is 2, and then we're going to write how many parts of a whole we have, which is 5/8. That seemed pretty straightforward. Are you ready to try to write this as an improper fraction now? All right, we already decided that each whole is split into 8 parts, so we're going to write that as our denominator. Now we need to count how many pieces we have shaded in. We know we have 8 pieces shaded in for this part because we have 8/8. We know we have 8 parts shaded in for this fraction bar because we have another whole, which is 8/8. And we already counted down here that we have 5 parts shaded in, which is 5/8. So we need to do a little bit of math. We need to add 8 plus 8, which is 16, plus 5, which is 21. So we know as an improper fraction that we have 21/8 shaded in. It's also important to remember that 2 5/8 is equivalent or equal to 21/8 because our shaded amount never changed. We only changed how we wrote the number. Now that you have had some practice with fraction bars, we're going to work on changing a mixed number into an improper fraction. That sounds pretty easy, right? Let's get started. First, let's write this amount as a mixed number. We have 1 whole bar shaded, and then we have 2 out of 5 parts of the next bar shaded. So 2/5 is going to be our fraction or a proper fractional amount. Our mixed number is going to be 1 2/5. So our goal is to change this into an improper fraction. We know that our denominator is going to be 5 because each of these wholes are split into fifths, 5 different pieces per whole. What we're looking for is the numerator. How many pieces are shaded in? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have 7/5 shaded in. So that part should be review. But what happens if you have more than one whole? What happens if you have 10 holes? You have so many holes that you can't draw a picture for every single one. How can you change 10 2/5 into an improper fraction? Well, there's actually a formula that you can use. If you multiply your denominator by the whole number, that's going to be the first step. So 5 times 1 equals 5. And then you add your numerator. So 5 times 1 equals 5 plus 2 equals 7. That's going to tell you what your numerator is for your improper fraction. The 5, your denominator, that's going to stay the same because the pieces in the whole are not going to change. So let's go ahead and try for 10 2/5 and see if we can change that into an improper fraction. Step 1, we're going to multiply the denominator times our whole number here. So 5 times 10 equals 50. And then we add our numerator. So 50 plus 2 equals 52. And remember, we don't change the denominator. The denominator is going to stay the same. So 10 2/5 is the same as 52/5. Now that you have the formula for converting a mixed number into an improper fraction, I'm going to give you a few practice problems. Can you convert 3 2/5 into an improper fraction? How about 5 6/8? Try 7 2/9. All right, let's go through these together. We multiply 5 times 3 to get 15, and then we add 2. So 15 plus 2 equals 17. So that's going to be our numerator. And our denominator is going to stay the same as our mixed number. So our denominator was 5. So 3 2/5 is the same as 17/5. Let's go ahead and look at our next one. 8 times 5 equals 40 plus 6 equals 46. So our numerator will be 46, and our denominator is going to stay the same, so our denominator is 8. Are you ready for our last one? 9 times 7 equals 63, plus 2 equals 65. So our numerator is going to be 65, and our denominator stays the same. So we now have gone through 3 different samples of changing a mixed number into an improper fraction. Now that you've learned how to change a mixed number into an improper fraction, are you ready to learn how to turn an improper fraction into a mixed number? It's actually pretty simple. Let's see if we can turn 25/3 into a mixed number. All you have to do is know long division. What we're going to do is we're going to divide 25 by 3, or 25 into 3 parts. 3 can go into 25 8 times. So 8 times 3 equals 24. We're going to go ahead and subtract down 24. Taken away from 25 is going to leave us with a remainder of 1. Now, like regular long division, we're going to take this 1 and we're going to bring it up, but it doesn't represent one whole. Because remember, we divided into thirds. So this 1 actually represents 1/3. So 25 thirds is equivalent or equal to 8 1/3. We're not quite done yet though, because we want to check our work. You always want to check your work and make sure that you did your math correctly. So we're going to reverse back. We're actually going to multiply and use our formula for changing a mixed number into an improper fraction. So 3 times 8 equals 24, plus 1 equals 25. And since 25 is our numerator, that means that we did our math correctly. Now that you've seen how to change an improper fraction into a mixed number, we're going to go through some practice problems together. We have 12/5, 33/4, and 17/3. All of these are improper fractions because the numerator is greater than the denominator. Let's go ahead and turn them into mixed numbers. 12/5. We're going to take the number 12 and we are going to divide it into fifths. 5 can go into 12 2 times. 5 times 2 equals 10. Let's go ahead and subtract out, and that leaves us with a remainder of 2. Now remember, we're not dealing with whole numbers right now. So this remainder of 2 actually represents 2/5. So we have 12/5 is equal to 2 2/5. Now before we go any further, we want to make sure we check our work. So let's change this mixed number back into an improper fraction. 5 times 2 equals 10, plus 2 equals 12, and look at that. We have a numerator of 12. That means that we've successfully checked our work. Let's look at 33/4. We're going to take 33, and we are going to divide it into fourths. 4 can go into 33 8 times. 8 times 4 equals 32. Let's go ahead and subtract out. That leaves us with a remainder of 1, but since we split into fourths, that leaves us with a remainder of 1/4. So 33/4 is equal to 8 1/4. But once again, we always check our work. 4 times 8 equals 32, plus 1 equals 33, and look at that. We have a numerator of 33. Are you ready for our last one? 17/3. Let's take 17 and divide that number into thirds. 3 can go into 17 5 complete times. 5 times 3 equals 15. Let's go ahead and subtract out. That means we have a remainder of 2/3. So our answer is 5 2/3. All right, let's go ahead and check our work. 3 times 5 equals 15, plus 2 equals 17, and voila, our numerator is 17. Great work! You have successfully changed these 3 improper fractions and turned them into mixed numbers. Let's go ahead and review what you've learned today. A mixed number is a number that has a whole number with a proper fraction written next to it. An improper fraction is a number that has the numerator greater than the denominator. In order to change a mixed number into an improper fraction, you need to multiply the denominator by the whole number and then add the numerator. 4 times 2 equals 8, plus 1 equals 9. You then carry the denominator over. So 2 1/4 is equal to 9/4. In order to change an improper fraction into a mixed number, you need to divide the numerator by the denominator. 23 divided into fourths equals 5 times 4 equals 20. Drop down our 3, and that leaves us with 3/4. So 23/4 is equivalent to 5 3/4.